You wake up every day with a mind that is already tired, not because you worked too hard yesterday, but because your thoughts never rested. Before your feet touch the floor, your mind is already running. What if this goes wrong? What if that never changes? What if I am falling behind? Most people believe stress comes from life, from work, responsibilities, people, pressure, but the truth is far more uncomfortable. Stress does not come from life. It comes from how your mind reacts to life. Right now, as you listen to this, there are two worlds operating at the same time. One is outside you. The other is inside you. You have very little control over the outside world. People will behave how they choose. Events will unfold without asking your permission. The past will remain unchanged. Yet most people spend their entire energy fighting what they cannot control. They argue with reality. They replay conversations that already ended. They fear outcomes that have not happened. And slowly, without realizing it, they lose control of the only place that truly matters, their inner world. Calm is not something you are born with. Peace is not something life gives as a reward. They are skills. And like any skill, they must be learned. This book is not about escaping life. It is about mastering how you meet life. You do not need a quieter world. You need a quieter mind, because a calm mind does not mean problems disappear. It means problems lose their power over you. Think about this carefully. Two people can face the same situation. One breaks, the other grows. The difference is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not talent. The difference is inner control. Most people are never taught how to manage their thoughts. They are never taught how to reset their emotions. They are never taught how to let go without feeling weak. So they live in reaction mode, reacting to people, reacting to pressure, reacting to fear. This book is an invitation to step out of reaction and into clarity. Inside this book, you will not find motivation that fades after one day. You will not find loud promises or empty positivity. You will learn how calm is built quietly, how resilience grows when no one is watching, how discipline becomes peaceful instead of exhausting. You will learn how to focus on what you can control, how to release what you cannot, how to train your mind to stay steady even when life is not. This is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming unshaken, because the strongest people are not those who feel nothing. They are those who feel deeply but remain centered. As you move forward in this book, you will begin to notice something subtle but powerful. Your thoughts will slow down. Your reactions will soften. Your clarity will sharpen. And one day, without forcing it, you will realize something important. Life did not change. You did. If this journey speaks to you, stay with it. Let each chapter reshape how you think, respond, and move through the world. And if you are ready to build calm, strength, and focus from the inside out, make sure you are subscribed to this channel so you do not miss the next step of this journey. Chapter 2: The Paradox of Control. Most of your mental exhaustion does not come from what happens to you. It comes from what you try to control. You try to control how people think about you. You try to control outcomes that depend on chance. You try to control the past by replaying it again and again in your mind. And every time you do this, you lose energy. The paradox of control is simple but uncomfortable. The more you try to control everything, the less control you actually have. Calm does not come from having power over life. Calm comes from understanding where your power ends and where it begins. There are only three things you truly control: your thoughts, your actions, your reactions. Everything else lives outside your authority. Other people's opinions are not under your control. Their behavior is not under your control. Unexpected events are not under your control. The past is not under your control. Yet most people build their entire emotional life around these uncontrollable things. They allow someone else's words to decide their mood. They allow uncertainty to steal their peace. They allow mistakes to define their identity. This is where suffering begins. A calm mind does not resist reality. It works with it. When you fight reality, you lose twice. First, you lose energy. Second, you lose clarity. Acceptance is often misunderstood as weakness. In truth, acceptance is strength. Acceptance does not mean liking what happened. It means recognizing what happened without emotional resistance. When you accept reality, your mind stops arguing. And when your mind stops arguing, it starts thinking clearly. One of the most powerful mental exercises you can practice is learning to draw a clear line. A line between what is within your influence and what is not. Ask yourself a simple question whenever stress appears. Is this within my control? If the answer is no, your task is not to fix it. Your task is to release it. Release does not mean giving up. It means redirecting energy to where it matters. If the answer is yes, then calm action becomes possible. Don't panic, not fear, but focused effort. People who remain calm under pressure have not eliminated problems from their lives. They have eliminated unnecessary resistance. They do not waste energy wishing reality were different. They ask, what can be done now? This shift changes everything. You stop blaming others. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop tying your self-worth to outcomes you cannot guarantee. Instead, you become grounded in effort. Effort is always under your control. Attention is under your control. Discipline is under your control. And when your identity is built on effort rather than outcome, peace follows naturally. Another hidden trap of control is emotional ownership. Many people feel responsible for how others feel. They apologize for emotions they did not create. They carry guilt that does not belong to them. This weakens the mind. You are responsible for your intentions, not for how others interpret them. You are responsible for your actions, not for someone else's reactions. When you release emotional ownership, your mind becomes lighter. Your decisions become clearer. Your boundaries become stronger. Calm people are not passive. They are precise. They choose where to invest energy. They choose when to speak and when to remain silent. They choose response over reaction. This is not detachment from life. It is intelligent engagement with life. Control is not about forcing life into submission. It is about mastering your inner world so life cannot dominate you emotionally. Once you understand this paradox, stress begins to lose its grip. You no longer feel the need to manage everything. You focus on managing yourself, and that is where true calm begins. As you move forward, remember this principle. You do not need control over life to feel peace. You need control over how you meet life. Chapter 3. The Gratitude Twist. Most people believe gratitude is about feeling good. They think gratitude means appreciating success, comfort, and ease. This belief is incomplete. Real gratitude does not begin when life becomes pleasant. It begins when life becomes difficult. The gratitude twist is simple, yet uncomfortable. It asks you to find value where your mind expects none. The human brain is wired to notice danger more than safety. It remembers pain more vividly than peace. It scans for what is missing instead of what is present. This is not a flaw. It is survival programming. But what protects survival often damages peace. When the mind constantly searches for what is wrong, it becomes blind to what is working. Over time, this creates emotional exhaustion. Gratitude is not a mood. It is a mental discipline, and like any discipline, it must be trained deliberately. Most people wait for gratitude to appear naturally. Calm people create it intentionally. The gratitude twist changes one question. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this teaching me? This single shift rewires perception. Pain stops being an enemy. It becomes information. Struggle stops being a punishment. It becomes preparation. This does not mean you deny hardship. It means you extract meaning from it. Meaning is what gives suffering a direction. Without meaning, pain feels endless. With meaning, pain becomes temporary. One of the reasons people remain stuck emotionally is that they only allow gratitude in good times. They reject it during loss, failure, and disappointment. But gratitude practiced only in comfort has no strength. Real gratitude is forged under pressure. When you find value in difficulty, the mind stops collapsing under stress. It begins to stabilize. This does not happen overnight. It happens through repetition. Each time something goes wrong, the mind reacts automatically. It complains. It resists. It is to blame. Gratitude interrupts this pattern, not by forcing positivity, but by asking a better question. What skill is this situation? Developing patience, humility, resilience, clarity, discipline. Every challenge strengthens something within you, whether you notice it or not. The difference between a calm mind and a restless mind is awareness. A restless mind focuses on loss. A calm mind focuses on growth. Gratitude trains the mind to notice progress instead of absence. This is especially important during slow seasons of life, when effort does not produce immediate results, when recognition does not arrive, when outcomes remain uncertain. These are the moments when most people quit mentally. Gratitude keeps you present. It reminds you that growth is happening quietly. Another powerful aspect of the gratitude twist is learning to appreciate contrast. You cannot understand peace without knowing chaos. You cannot value clarity without confusion. You cannot recognize strength without struggle. Contrast gives depth to experience. A life without difficulty may feel comfortable, but it rarely feels meaningful. Gratitude allows you to integrate all experiences instead of rejecting half of them. This integration creates emotional balance. You stop swinging between extremes. You stop depending on external conditions for stability. Instead, you develop inner steadiness. One practical way to strengthen gratitude is to revisit past difficulties that once felt unbearable. Notice how they shaped you. Notice what they removed from your life. Notice what they forced you to develop. Often, the moments you once resented were the moments that redirected your path. Gratitude does not change the past. It changes how the past lives inside you. When the past stops haunting you, the mind becomes lighter. Another mistake people make is using gratitude as comparison. They tell themselves they should be grateful because others have it worse. This creates guilt, not peace. True gratitude is personal. It is not measured against others. It is measured against growth. You do not need to minimize your pain to be grateful. You need to understand it. Gratitude becomes powerful when it is honest. You can acknowledge difficulty while still appreciating the strength it builds. This balance is maturity. Over time, gratitude reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You begin to see yourself as someone who adapts, learns, and evolves. This mindset creates emotional independence. External conditions lose their ability to control your inner state. Calm does not mean life becomes easier. It means your relationship with difficulty becomes wiser. Gratitude does not eliminate pain. It prevents pain from becoming bitter. As you continue forward, remember this truth. Life does not always give you what you want, but it always gives you what you need to grow. Gratitude is how you recognize that gift. Chapter 4. The Art of Emotional Resetting. Emotions are not the problem. The problem is staying trapped inside them longer than necessary. Most people believe emotions must be solved, analyzed, or fought. They replay what happened. They explain it again and again. They wait for the feeling to disappear on its own. This rarely works. Emotions are not logical events. They are physiological and psychological signals, and signals require response, not resistance. Emotional resetting is the ability to return to balance without denying what you feel. It is not suppression. It is regulation. When something triggers you, your nervous system reacts before your thoughts do. The body tightens. Breathing becomes shallow. The mind narrows. This is not a weakness. It is biology. But when this state lasts too long, clarity disappears. Resetting begins with recognition. Most emotional suffering continues because people do not name what they are experiencing. They say, "I am fine." They say it does not matter. They push forward while tension accumulates. A calm mind starts by acknowledging the signal, not dramatizing it, not judging it, simply recognizing it. This awareness alone begins the reset. Once an emotion is recognized, The next step is grounding the body. The mind follows the body, not the other way around. When the body calms, the mind regains flexibility. One of the simplest resets is breath control. Slow breathing sends a message to the nervous system that danger has passed. Longer exhales activate relaxation. Short pauses between breaths restore rhythm. This is not meditation, it is regulation. Another powerful reset is physical interruption. Standing up, changing posture, walking slowly. Movement breaks emotional loops. When the body shifts, the mind receives new input. Emotional resetting also requires language discipline. Many people unknowingly reinforce emotions through the words they use internally. They say, "I am overwhelmed." They say, "This always happens." They say, "I cannot handle this." These statements lock the nervous system into threat mode. A calm mind uses precise language. Instead of being overwhelmed, it says, "I am experiencing pressure." Instead of always, it says right now. Instead of cannot handle, it says, "This is challenging." This shift does not deny difficulty. It prevents escalation. Another overlooked reset tool is sensory grounding. The mind cannot be fully anxious while focused on immediate sensation. Noticing temperature, noticing sounds, noticing physical contact with the ground. These anchors pull attention out of mental spirals and into the present moment. Resetting also requires permission to pause. Many people believe stopping is failure. They believe pushing through proves strength. In reality, constant pushing creates emotional debt. A pause is not quitting. It is recalibration. Even brief pauses restore perspective. Another mistake people make is waiting for emotions to disappear before continuing. Calm people move forward while regulating emotion, not after eliminating it. They do not wait for confidence. They regulate fear and act anyway. They do not wait for motivation. They regulate resistance and begin anyway. Emotional resetting is not about control. It is about recovery. Life will continue to create emotional waves. Calm is the ability to ride them without being pulled under. Another critical reset principle is separation. You are not your emotions. You experience them. When people identify with emotion, they become consumed by it. A calm mind observes emotion rather than becoming it. This creates space. Space allows choice. Choice restores power. Resetting also involves letting emotions complete their cycle. Many emotions persist because they are interrupted too early or avoided entirely. Allowing a feeling to exist briefly without judgment often shortens its duration. Resistance extends emotion. Acceptance allows release. Another aspect of emotional resetting is energy management. Strong emotions often signal depletion, lack of rest, lack of nourishment, lack of boundaries. When the body is depleted, emotions intensify. Caring for basic needs is not optional. It is foundational. Calm minds protect energy intentionally. They limit exposure to draining environments. They say no without guilt. They choose recovery over constant stimulation. Emotional resetting also requires compassion toward yourself. Self-criticism keeps the nervous system activated. Compassion calms it. Speaking to yourself with respect stabilizes emotional responses. This does not mean excusing harmful behavior. It means correcting without hostility. Over time, emotional resets become faster. What once took hours begins to take minutes. What once took minutes begins to take moments. This is mastery. Calm is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to return to the center. Life will continue to challenge you. People will continue to disappoint you. Outcomes will continue to surprise you. But when you know how to reset, none of this controls you for long. This is the hidden advantage of emotional regulation. You recover quickly. You think clearly. You respond wisely. As you move forward, remember this. You do not need to eliminate emotions to live calmly. You need the skill to reset them. And that skill changes everything. Chapter 5. Energy Management. Most people believe their problem is time. They say there is never enough of it. They rush through days feeling exhausted before anything meaningful is done. But time is rarely the real issue. The real issue is energy. You can have free time and still feel drained. You can have a full schedule and still feel focused. Calm and productivity are not created by managing hours. They are created by managing energy. Your mind and body operate like a battery. Every interaction, decision, and thought either charges it or drains it. Most people never audit where their energy goes. They wake up and immediately spend it on noise, messages, news, unnecessary conversations, unresolved emotions. By the time something important needs attention, the battery is empty. A calm mind learns to protect its energy intentionally. The first step in energy management is awareness. Notice what leaves you feeling heavier. Notice what leaves you feeling clearer. Some activities look productive, but silently drain focus. Some people appear supportive, but quietly exhaust you. Energy management requires honesty. Not everything that feels urgent deserves your energy. Not everything that asks for your attention should receive it. Boundaries are not rejection, they are protection. A calm person does not try to please everyone. They try to preserve clarity. One of the biggest energy leaks is mental clutter. Unfinished tasks, unspoken thoughts, lingering resentment. The mind keeps these open loops active in the background. They drain focus even when you are not consciously thinking about them. Closing loops restores energy. Write things down. Make decisions instead of postponing them endlessly. Address what can be addressed. Another major drain is emotional overexposure, absorbing other people's stress, carrying problems that are not yours to solve, feeling responsible for moods you did not create. Calm minds practice emotional boundaries. They listen without absorbing. They care without carrying. They support without sacrificing stability. Energy is also deeply connected to the body. Poor rest weakens emotional regulation. Poor nutrition intensifies stress responses. Lack of movement stagnates mental clarity. You cannot think calmly in a depleted body. Basic care is not a luxury. It is maintenance. Even small improvements restore significant energy. Better sleep routines, consistent hydration, gentle movement. Energy management also requires understanding rhythms. You are not designed to operate at full intensity all day. Focus naturally rises and falls. Calm people align effort with energy peaks. They do demanding work when focus is strongest. They rest intentionally when energy drops. Rest is not laziness. It is strategic recovery. Another overlooked factor is decision fatigue. Every choice consumes energy. What to wear, what to eat, what to respond to. Too many unnecessary decisions exhaust the mind. Simplifying choices preserves clarity. Routines reduce mental load. Clear priorities prevent overwhelm. Calm minds decide once and move forward. They do not renegotiate the same decision repeatedly. Energy also flows where attention goes. Constant distraction fragments energy. Multitasking drains depth. A calm mind focuses on one thing at a time. Depth creates momentum. Momentum restores confidence. Another powerful energy practice is learning to say no. Saying yes to everything spreads energy thin. Saying no protects what matters. No does not require explanation. No does not require guilt. It is a statement of priority. Calm people understand that every yes is a trade. Time, focus, or peace is exchanged. They choose carefully. Energy management also includes intentional recharging. Quiet moments, solitude, nature, creative flow. These restore what noise depletes. Silence is not empty. It is nourishing. Many people fear silence because it removes distraction. Calm people value silence because it restores alignment. Another key principle is emotional energy alignment. Doing work that conflicts with values drains energy faster than workload itself. When actions align with purpose, effort feels lighter. This does not mean work becomes easy. It means it becomes meaningful. Meaning sustains energy. Energy management is not about avoiding effort. It is about choosing effort wisely. You will still face demands. You will still encounter pressure. But when energy is managed, pressure does not overwhelm. Over time, calm people notice something subtle. They feel less rushed, less reactive, more present. They do not need constant motivation. They rely on stability. Energy management creates sustainable calm. Not the calm of avoidance, but the calm of control. As you continue, remember this: you do not need more time. You need more intentional energy. And when energy is protected, clarity follows. Chapter 6. The Power of Micro-Adventures. Most people believe change requires something dramatic, a major decision, a complete reset, a radical shift. This belief quietly keeps them stuck, because when change feels too big, the mind delays it. Micro-adventures work differently. They create movement without overwhelming the nervous system. A micro-adventure is not about escape. It is about interruption. Interruption of routine, interruption of predictability, interruption of mental stagnation. The mind thrives on novelty. When every day looks the same, thinking becomes rigid. When thinking becomes rigid, energy drops. Micro-adventures reintroduce curiosity. They remind the mind that life is still dynamic, still flexible, still open. These are not vacations. They are intentional shifts in experience, taking a different route home, sitting somewhere unfamiliar, starting the day differently than usual. Small changes wake the mind. The power of micro-adventures lies in their scale. They feel safe. They feel manageable. The brain does not resist them. Large changes activate fear. Small changes activate curiosity. Curiosity is calm. Micro-adventures also break emotional autopilot. Most people live on repetition. Same thoughts, same reactions, same expectations. Over time, this repetition dulls perception. Micro-adventures refresh awareness. They force attention into the present moment. Presence restores clarity. Another overlooked benefit is confidence rebuilding. When people feel stuck, they often feel powerless. Micro-adventures restore a sense of agency. You choose something new. You follow through. You experience completion. This strengthens self-trust. Self-trust stabilizes the mind. Micro-adventures also soften perfectionism. When change is small, failure carries less weight. There is less pressure to perform. This encourages experimentation. Experimentation keeps the mind flexible. A flexible mind adapts faster. Many people believe they need motivation to try something new. In reality, trying something new creates motivation. Action precedes emotion. Micro-adventures lower the threshold for action. They remove the need for readiness. You do not need to feel inspired. You only need to begin. Another key element is sensory engagement. Routine dulls the senses. Novelty sharpens them. Different sights, different sounds, different environments. This sensory input grounds the mind. Grounding reduces anxiety. Micro-adventures also disrupt rumination. The mind cannot replay the same worries when it is engaged in new input. Attention shifts outward. Thoughts slow down. This creates mental relief. Another important aspect is identity expansion. People often define themselves narrowly. I am not adventurous. I am not creative. I am not flexible. Micro-adventures quietly challenge these identities. You act outside the label. The label weakens. Identity becomes more open. This openness reduces inner resistance. Micro-adventures also help regulate emotional states. Monotony intensifies negative emotions. Variation balances them. Joy does not always come from pleasure. Sometimes it comes from freshness. Freshness renews perspective. Perspective reduces emotional weight. Micro-adventures are especially powerful during difficult periods. When life feels heavy, large changes feel impossible. Small intentional shifts remain accessible. They create momentum. Momentum rebuilds hope. Another benefit is increased adaptability. Life is unpredictable. People who avoid novelty struggle when change arrives. Micro-adventures train adaptability gently. They prepare the nervous system for uncertainty. Prepared minds remain calm. Micro-adventures also reconnect you with choice. Many people feel trapped by schedules and responsibilities. Small choices restore autonomy. Autonomy reduces resentment. Resentment drains energy. Micro-adventures do not require time. They require intention. Even brief changes matter. 10 minutes of difference can reset an entire day. The goal is not excitement. The goal is engagement. Engagement prevents stagnation. Over time, micro-adventures accumulate. Small changes compound into flexibility. Flexibility compounds into resilience. Resilience stabilizes the mind. Calm does not come from avoiding life. It comes from engaging with it intelligently. Micro-adventures are a way to stay awake within routine. They remind the mind that growth does not always require disruption. Sometimes it requires curiosity. As you move forward, remember this: you do not need a new life to feel alive. You need small moments of intentional change, and those moments quietly rebuild calm. Chapter 7. Rewriting your inner narrative. Every person lives inside a story. Not the story others see, but the one spoken quietly inside the mind. This inner narrative shapes how you interpret events, how you respond to pressure, and how you define yourself in moments of uncertainty. Most people never question this story. They assume it is truth. But the inner narrative is not truth. It is an interpretation, and interpretation can be rewritten. The mind constantly explains life to itself. Why things happen, what they mean, what they say about you. When this explanation turns negative, life feels heavier than it is. A calm mind does not silence the inner voice. It trains it. Negative inner narratives usually begin as protection. They try to prevent disappointment. They try to avoid pain. But over time, protection becomes limited. The mind repeats phrases silently. I am not good enough. This always goes wrong. I cannot trust myself. Repetition creates belief. Belief shapes behavior. Behavior reinforces the story. This loop runs automatically unless interrupted. Rewriting the inner narrative begins with awareness. You cannot change a story you do not notice. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself under pressure. Notice the tone. Notice the assumptions. Notice the conclusions. Many inner narratives are exaggerated. They turn temporary situations into permanent identities. A calm mind learns to separate event from meaning. An event is what happened. Meaning is what you assign to it. Most suffering comes from meaning, not events. When something goes wrong, the inner narrative often jumps ahead. It predicts failure. It's worth it. It creates fear. This prediction feels convincing because it is familiar. Familiarity is not accuracy. One powerful way to rewrite the narrative is reframing. Reframing does not deny reality. It changes perspective. Instead of saying this proves I am failing, you say this shows where growth is needed. Instead of saying I always struggle, you say this is a challenging phase. Language matters. The words you use internally influence emotional intensity. A calm narrative uses precise language, not dramatic, not absolute. Precision creates emotional stability. Another key element is evidence checking. The mind often tells stories without proof. It says you are behind without checking progress. It says you are weak without acknowledging endurance. Ask yourself simple questions. What evidence supports this thought? What evidence contradicts it? Often, the story collapses under examination. This restores balance. Rewriting the narrative also requires compassion. Many people attempt change through criticism. They attack themselves for thinking negatively. This deepens the problem. A calm mind corrects gently. Correction without hostility allows learning. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you respect. Respect stabilizes the nervous system. Another practice is future scripting. The mind responds to imagined experience similarly to real experience. When you visualize a calm, capable version of yourself responding wisely, the nervous system learns a new pattern. This is not fantasy. It is a rehearsal. Rehearsal builds familiarity. Familiarity builds confidence. Confidence quiets fear. Rewriting the narrative also involves letting go of outdated identities. Many inner stories were formed in past environments. Childhood, early failure, old expectations. They may no longer be accurate. Growth requires updating identity. You are allowed to outgrow old definitions. A calm mind allows identity to evolve. Another important aspect is consistency. Changing the inner narrative is not a one-time event. It is a practice. The old story will return, not because it is true, but because it is practiced. Each time you interrupt it, a new pathway strengthens. Over time, the new narrative becomes automatic. This process requires patience. You are retraining years of mental habit. Progress may feel slow, but it is steady. Rewriting the inner narrative also affects emotional regulation. When the story softens, emotions follow. Fear loses intensity. Self-doubt loses authority. Pressure becomes manageable. Calm is not forced. It emerges. A strong inner narrative does not eliminate difficulty. It provides stability within difficulty. It allows you to move forward without constant inner conflict. As you continue, remember this. You are not the voice in your mind. You are the one who hears it. And once you realize that, you gain the power to change the story you live by. Chapter 8. The Anchor Ritual. In a world that moves fast, stability does not come from speed. It comes from anchoring. Most people search for calm in outcomes. They wait for things to settle. They wait for problems to end. They wait for life to slow down. Life rarely does. Calm people do not wait for stability. They create it. An anchor ritual is a small, repeatable practice that grounds you, no matter what the day brings. It is not about productivity. It is about presence. Anchors work because the mind craves familiarity during uncertainty. When everything feels unpredictable, a simple ritual restores order. This ritual does not need to be impressive. It needs to be consistent. A calm mind is built through repetition, not intensity. Many people believe calm requires long meditation sessions or perfect routines. This belief prevents them from starting. An anchor ritual works because it is realistic. It can be brief. It can be quiet. It can be simple. The power is not in the ritual itself. The power is in what it signals. Each time you perform an anchor ritual, you send a message to your nervous system. You tell it that you are safe. You tell it that you are present. You tell it that chaos does not control you. This message reduces reactivity. One common anchor ritual is intentional breathing. Not deep breathing as a technique, but breathing as awareness. Feeling the breath enter, feeling it leave, allowing rhythm to return. Another anchor is writing. Not journaling to analyze life, but writing to release it. Putting thoughts on paper removes them from the mind. This clears internal space. Movement can also become an anchor. Slow walking, stretching, gentle physical awareness. Movement grounds attention in the body. Some anchors are sensory, warmth, texture, sound. These sensory inputs pull attention out of thought loops and into the present moment. An anchor ritual is most powerful when it is personal. What calms one person may not calm another. The goal is not copying someone else's routine. The goal is consistency. Another critical element is timing. Anchors work best when used predictably. Morning anchors create stability before the day begins. Evening anchors allow release before rest. But anchors can also be used during disruption. When stress rises, returning briefly to an anchor restores balance. The ritual does not need to fix the situation. It stabilizes your response to it. This distinction matters. Many people abandon rituals because they expect immediate emotional change. Anchors do not eliminate difficulty. They prevent escalation. They create a pause between stimulus and response. That pause restores choice. Choice restores control. Another benefit of anchor rituals is identity reinforcement. Each repetition reinforces the identity of someone who is grounded. You begin to see yourself as stable rather than reactive. Identity shapes behavior. Over time, this stability becomes natural. Anchor rituals also protect energy. They reduce decision fatigue. They reduce emotional overload. They reduce mental noise. Calm people rely on anchors instead of motivation. Motivation fluctuates. Anchors remain. Another mistake people make is trying to build many rituals at once. This overwhelms the mind. One anchor is enough. Simplicity sustains consistency. Consistency builds calm. Anchor rituals also create emotional predictability. When life feels chaotic, knowing you will return to your ritual provides reassurance. Reassurance reduces anxiety. An anchor ritual becomes a reference point. No matter how far the mind wanders, it knows where to return. This return is grounding. Another important aspect is intention. Performing a ritual mindlessly weakens its effect. Performing it with awareness strengthens it. Even brief awareness is enough. The anchor does not require perfection. It requires presence. Over time, anchor rituals reshape the nervous system. Stress responses soften. Recovery becomes faster. Clarity returns more easily. You become less dependent on external calm. Calm becomes internal. This internal calm does not isolate you from life. It allows you to engage without being overwhelmed. Anchor rituals also support emotional resilience. When emotions rise, the anchor prevents spiraling. You still feel, but you remain centered. Centered minds make better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. Not because life becomes easier, but because responses become wiser. As you move forward, remember this. You do not need to control the world to feel stable. You need something stable within it. An anchor ritual provides that stability, and once you have it, calm is no longer something you chase. It is something you return to. Chapter 9. Building a resilient mindset. Resilience is often misunderstood. Many people think it means enduring pain without feeling it. Others believe it means never breaking down. Both are incorrect. Resilience is not emotional numbness. It is emotional flexibility. A resilient mind does not avoid difficulty. It adapts to it. Life will test you repeatedly. Plans will fail. People will be disappointed. Progress will slow. The difference between those who collapse and those who continue is not strength. It is a mindset. A resilient mindset begins with how you interpret challenges. Most people see difficulty as evidence that something is wrong. They ask why this is happening. They assume they are failing. Resilient minds ask a different question. What is this requiring me to develop? This shift changes pressure into purpose. Pressure without purpose breaks people. Pressure with purpose builds them. Another key element of resilience is emotional flexibility. Rigid minds resist change. They cling to expectations. When reality differs, frustration follows. Flexible minds adjust. They release what no longer works. They revise strategies without self-blame. This flexibility preserves energy. Resilience also depends on self-belief. Not the loud confidence that seeks attention, but quiet trust in your ability to recover. Resilient people do not believe they will never fall. They believe they can stand up again. This belief stabilizes the nervous system. When the mind trusts recovery, fear loses intensity. Another important factor is the relationship with failure. Failure is inevitable. What matters is interpretation. Many people treat failure as identity. They say, "I am a failure." Resilient minds treat failure as feedback. Feedback is information. Information guides adjustment. This perspective prevents shame from taking root. Resilience also requires patience. Growth rarely follows a straight line. Progress pauses. Effort feels unrewarded. These moments test commitment. A resilient mindset does not demand immediate results. It trusts the process. Trusting the process does not mean blind optimism. It means continued effort without emotional collapse. Another overlooked component of resilience is recovery. Constant pushing weakens resilience. Rest is not avoidance. It is repaired. Resilient minds schedule recovery intentionally. They respect limits. They restore capacity. This prevents burnout. Another factor is meaning. People endure difficulty better when it connects to something larger. Purpose gives hardship context. Without purpose, pain feels random. With purpose, pain feels directed. Resilient people revisit purpose during struggle. It reminds them why effort matters. Resilience also involves boundaries. Saying no protects energy. Protecting energy preserves stability. You cannot be resilient while overextended. Resilient minds choose sustainability over intensity. Another critical aspect is perspective. Short-term focus magnifies discomfort. Long-term focus reduces it. When you zoom out, temporary setbacks lose weight. Perspective creates emotional distance. Distance restores calm. Resilience also grows through exposure. Avoiding difficulty weakens resilience. Engaging with manageable challenges strengthens it. This is why resilience builds gradually. Each challenge survived reinforces confidence. Confidence reduces fear of future challenges. Another important habit is reflection. Resilient minds reflect without rumination. They extract lessons without replaying pain. They ask what worked, what did not, what can improve. This learning loop strengthens adaptability. Resilience is also supported by the community, not dependency, but connection. Knowing support exists reduces emotional load. However, resilient people do not outsource strength. They integrate support without losing autonomy. Another overlooked element is self-compassion. Harsh self-judgment weakens resilience. Compassion stabilizes emotional response. Speaking to yourself with respect maintains balance during difficulty. This does not excuse harmful behavior. It supports correction. Resilience is not built in moments of ease. It is built in response to strain. Each time you remain grounded under pressure, the mind learns stability. Over time, resilience becomes identity. You no longer fear challenges. You respect them. Challenges become training rather than threat. As you continue forward, remember this. Resilience does not mean life stops testing you. It means tests stop controlling you. And when the mind learns to bend without breaking, calm becomes durable. Chapter 10. The ripple effect of kindness. Kindness is often underestimated. Many people see it as softness, as something optional, as a moral preference rather than a practical force. This misunderstanding keeps people from using one of the most powerful tools for calm and stability. Kindness is not weakness. It is regulation. When practiced intentionally, kindness reshapes the nervous system. It shifts attention outward without losing self-control. It reduces internal friction. A calm mind understands that kindness is not about pleasing others. It is about maintaining inner balance. When you act with kindness, the body releases tension, breathing slows, muscles soften, the mind expands beyond self-focused stress. This is not accidental. Kindness activates neural pathways associated with safety and connection. Connection stabilizes the mind. Another misconception is that kindness requires sacrifice. In reality, unboundaried kindness drains energy. Boundaried kindness restores it. Calm people are kind without self-abandonment. They give without overextending. They listen without absorbing. They support without carrying. This balance preserves peace. Kindness also interrupts rumination. When attention shifts toward helping, perspective widens. Problems shrink. Thought loops break. This creates mental relief. The ripple effect begins internally. Before kindness reaches others, it stabilizes you. Small acts create immediate physiological shifts. A sincere word, a moment of patience, a simple acknowledgement. These actions signal safety to the nervous system. Safety reduces reactivity. Kindness also changes how you interpret others. When the mind adopts a kind lens, it becomes less defensive. It stops assuming threat in neutral situations. This reduces unnecessary stress. Another powerful effect is emotional regulation. Anger and resentment thrive on separation. Kindness reintroduces connection. This does not mean tolerating harm. It means responding without internal poison. Calm minds do not carry bitterness. They release it. Another aspect of kindness is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is unburdening. Holding resentment keeps the nervous system activated. Releasing it restores calm. Forgiveness is not done for others. It is done for inner freedom. Kindness also strengthens identity. Each act reinforces the identity of someone who responds consciously rather than reactively. Identity shapes behavior. Over time, this identity becomes stable. Kindness also influences self-perception. How you treat others reflects how you treat yourself. Practicing kindness externally increases self-compassion internally. Self-compassion stabilizes emotional responses. Another overlooked dimension is kindness toward effort. Many people are harsh with themselves during growth. They criticize slow progress. They punish mistakes. This creates tension. Kindness toward effort acknowledges difficulty without judgment. It allows learning without emotional collapse. Kindness also improves resilience. People who practice kindness recover faster from setbacks. They do not internalize failure. They contextualize it. This prevents shame from taking root. Another ripple effect is clarity. When emotional tension drops, thinking sharpens. Calm minds make better decisions, not because they know more, but because they are less reactive. Kindness creates this clarity indirectly. It removes internal noise. Another powerful effect is social regulation. Kindness de-escalates conflict. It softens the tone. It reduces defensiveness. This does not mean surrendering boundaries. It means communicating without aggression. Calm communication prevents unnecessary escalation. Kindness also protects energy. Hostility drains. Compassion restores. You do not need to win every interaction. You need to preserve inner stability. Another benefit is influence. People respond more openly to calm kindness than force. Influence gained through calm presence lasts longer than influence gained through pressure. This builds trust. Trust reduces friction. Another overlooked area is micro-kindness. You do not need grand gestures. Small, consistent acts matter more. Patience in conversation, respect in disagreement, listening without interruption. These micro-acts accumulate. They shape environments. Environments shape mental states. Kindness also disrupts negativity bias. The mind naturally scans for threat. Kindness shifts attention toward safety cues. This balances perception. Balanced perception reduces anxiety. Another important element is intentionality. Automatic kindness can become draining. Intentional kindness remains energizing. Calm minds choose when and how to be kind. They do not react with kindness out of fear. They respond with kindness out of clarity. This distinction matters. Kindness practiced consciously becomes strength. Another ripple effect is meaning. Helping others connects effort to purpose. Purpose reduces existential stress. Stress without meaning overwhelms. Stress with meaning becomes manageable. Kindness provides meaning. Another benefit is emotional distance from ego. Kindness shifts focus away from self-image. This reduces ego-driven stress. When ego softens, calm increases. Kindness also supports patience. Patient people are kind with time. They allow growth. They allow learning. This patience stabilizes effort. Over time, kindness reshapes worldview. The world feels less hostile, less threatening. Not because reality changed, but because perception did. Calm does not require isolating from others. It requires engaging without hostility. Kindness is how that engagement remains peaceful. As you move forward, remember this. Kindness is not something you give away. It is something you circulate, and every time it returns, it reinforces calm. Chapter 11. The practice of letting go. Most suffering does not come from what happens. It comes from what you refuse to release. The mind holds tightly to outcomes, expectations, and identities. It replays the past. It worries about the future. It clings to how things should have been. Letting go is often misunderstood. People assume it means giving up. They believe it means losing control. In truth, letting go is reclaiming control. You cannot move forward while gripping what no longer serves you. The mind was designed to learn, not to store emotional weight indefinitely. When it carries too much unresolved attachment, clarity fades. Letting go begins with acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means acknowledging reality without resistance. Resistance keeps the nervous system activated. Acceptance allows it to settle. When the mind stops arguing with what already happened, energy returns. Another attachment people struggle to release is identity. They define themselves by past mistakes, by old roles, by expectations that no longer fit. Growth requires updating identity. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to release versions of yourself that were built for survival, not fulfillment. Letting go also applies to outcomes. Many people attach their peace to results. They feel calm only when things go as planned. This creates constant tension. A calm mind commits to effort, not outcome. Effort is within control. The outcome is not. When peace depends on outcome, anxiety follows. Releasing outcome attachment does not reduce ambition. It improves focus. You work fully without emotional hostage. Another difficult area of letting go is emotional pain. Unprocessed pain lingers. It shapes reactions silently. Letting go does not mean forgetting pain. It means integrating it. Integration allows learning without carrying emotional charge. This process requires patience. Emotions release gradually when acknowledged honestly. Avoidance delays release. Facing allows completion. Letting go also involves forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as reconciliation. It is not. Forgiveness is choosing not to carry resentment. Resentment binds you to the past. Release frees attention. You do not forgive to excuse harm. You forgive to protect your peace. Another attachment people struggle with is control over others. Expecting people to change creates frustration. Trying to manage their reactions drains energy. Letting go restores boundaries. You influence without controlling. You express without forcing. This balance preserves calm. Letting go also requires confronting fear. Fear often hides beneath attachment. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty. Releasing attachment exposes fear. Facing fear reduces its power. Avoiding fear strengthens it. A calm mind allows uncertainty without collapse. Uncertainty is part of life, not a threat. Another overlooked attachment is comparison. Comparing progress steals satisfaction. It distorts perspective. Letting go of comparison restores focus on personal growth. Your path does not require validation. Another form of letting go is releasing the need to be right. Ego clings to correctness. Correctness feeds conflict. Releasing the need to be right creates peace. Peace is often more valuable than victory. Letting go also applies to timing. Forcing outcomes creates tension. Allowing time to work creates stability. Patience is a form of release. Trusting the process calms the mind. Another important element is self-compassion. Letting go is difficult. Harsh self-judgment makes it harder. Compassion creates safety for release. You cannot let go in a state of threat. Safety allows surrender. Over time, letting go becomes a habit. You notice attachment faster. You release sooner. The emotional load lightens. Clarity increases. Letting go does not make you passive. It makes you precise. You act where action matters. You release where action is futile. This precision preserves energy. As you continue forward, remember this. You do not let go because something failed. You let go because something is complete. Completion is not loss. It is a transition. And when the mind learns to release gracefully, calm becomes sustainable. Chapter 12. Cultivating patience. Patience is often mistaken for waiting. People believe patience means doing nothing while time passes. This belief weakens growth. Patience is not passive. It is active stability. A calm mind understands that progress unfolds on its own timeline. Forcing outcomes creates tension. Resisting time creates frustration. Patience allows effort without emotional exhaustion. Most people suffer not because life is slow, but because they expect speed. They rush growth. They demand results. They measure success too early. When expectations outpace reality, disappointment follows. Patience realigns expectation with process. It teaches the mind to stay present during delay. Delay is not denial. It is development. Many important transformations occur beneath the surface. Roots grow before branches appear. A patient mind trusts what cannot yet be seen. Another reason patience is difficult is comparison. Watching others appear to move faster creates pressure. Pressure distorts perception. A calm mind remembers that timelines differ. Progress is personal. Comparing paths creates unnecessary urgency. Urgency erodes peace. Patience restores balance. Patience also regulates emotion. Impatience activates stress responses. It tightens the body. It narrows thinking. Patience softens reaction. When patience is practiced, breathing slows. Muscles release. The mind widens. This physiological shift improves decision-making. Another overlooked aspect of patience is self-trust. Impatience often signals doubt. Doubt that effort will pay off. Doubt that growth is happening. Patience is trust in action. Trust that consistency compounds. Trust that learning accumulates. This trust stabilizes motivation. Patience also prevents burnout. Constant urgency drains energy. Calm minds pace themselves. They work steadily rather than intensely. Steady effort sustains momentum. Another benefit of patience is resilience. Patient people recover faster from setbacks. They do not interpret delay as failure. They adjust without emotional collapse. This flexibility strengthens endurance. Patience also enhances focus. When you stop rushing, attention deepens. Depth improves quality. Quality accelerates long-term progress. Rushing sacrifices depth. Patience protects it. Another important element is acceptance of uncertainty. Life rarely provides clear timelines. Waiting without clarity triggers anxiety. Patience allows you to coexist with uncertainty. Coexisting reduces fear. Fear loses power when it is not resisted. Patience also changes how you relate to mistakes. Impatient minds judge mistakes harshly. Patient minds treat mistakes as instruction. Instruction guides improvement. This mindset supports learning. Patience is also connected to emotional maturity. Mature minds tolerate discomfort without escalation. They do not demand relief immediately. They allow feelings to pass naturally. This tolerance reduces emotional volatility. Another overlooked area is delayed gratification. Many people struggle because they seek immediate reward. Patience allows investment without immediate payoff. This is how mastery develops. Mastery requires time. Patience also supports alignment. Rushing often leads to misaligned decisions. Waiting allows clarity to emerge. Clarity prevents regret. Patience does not mean indecision. It means timing decisions wisely. Another benefit is peace with effort. Impatient minds constantly evaluate progress. This evaluation interrupts flow. Patient minds stay engaged. Engagement sustains energy. Patience also improves relationships. Rushing conversations creates misunderstanding. Listening patiently creates connection. Connection reduces conflict. Patience allows empathy. Empathy stabilizes interaction. Another aspect is patience with self-development. Growth includes regression. Learning is non-linear. Patient minds allow fluctuation. They remain steady despite inconsistency. This steadiness builds confidence. Patience also shifts identity. You stop identifying as someone chasing results. You become someone committed to the process. Process orientation reduces anxiety. Anxiety fades when focus remains on effort. Patience also strengthens discipline. Discipline without patience becomes rigid. Patience softens discipline. Soft discipline is sustainable. Sustainable effort produces lasting results. Over time, patience transforms perception. Waiting feels less threatening. Delay feels less personal. Time becomes an ally rather than an enemy. Calm does not come from speeding up life. It comes from moving at the pace of growth. As you continue forward, remember this: patience is not about enduring delay. It is about trusting development. And when trust replaces urgency, calm becomes natural. Chapter 13. The Power of Visualization. The mind does not wait for reality to decide how it feels. It responds to images long before outcomes arrive. Visualization is not imagination for escape. It is rehearsal for direction. Most people visualize unconsciously. They picture failure. They replay worst-case scenarios. They imagine loss before effort begins. This silent visualization shapes emotional response. The mind prepares the body for what it expects. When expectation is negative, tension appears before action. Breathing tightens. Focus narrows. Confidence weakens. Visualization trains expectation. A calm mind learns to guide this process intentionally. Visualization does not replace action. It prepares action. When you visualize a response calmly, the nervous system practices regulation. This practice reduces fear when the moment arrives. Athletes understand this principle intuitively. They rehearse movements mentally before a performance. The brain activates similar pathways whether an action is imagined or performed. This is not motivation. It is conditioning. Visualization conditions the mind to recognize possibility rather than threat. Many people avoid visualization because they fear disappointment. They believe imagining success will make failure hurt more. This belief limits growth. Visualization does not guarantee outcomes. It improves readiness. Readiness reduces emotional shock. Another mistake is visualizing results without behavior. Effective visualization includes processes. You visualize effort. You visualize discipline. You visualize recovery after a challenge. This builds realistic confidence. Confidence grounded in the process is stable. Visualization also clarifies intention. When you see yourself acting calmly, you identify how you want to respond. This clarity guides decisions. Without visualization, the mind defaults to habit. Habit is often reactive. Visualization introduces choice. Another powerful aspect is emotional regulation. When the mind rehearses calm responses, it reduces physiological reactivity. The nervous system recognizes familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Fear loses authority. Visualization also strengthens identity. You begin to see yourself as capable. Identity influences behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. This loop becomes constructive. Another overlooked benefit is focus training. Visualization requires attention. Sustained attention strengthens concentration. Concentration improves execution. Visualization also reduces hesitation. Hesitation often comes from uncertainty. When the mind has already walked the path, movement feels natural. This does not eliminate uncertainty. It reduces resistance. Visualization is also effective for recovery. Replaying calm moments restores emotional balance. It reminds the nervous system of safety. This is especially useful after stress. Another application is value alignment. Visualizing actions aligned with values reinforces purpose. Purpose reduces emotional noise. Noise clouds judgment. Clear judgment supports calm. Visualization also helps redirect rumination. Instead of replaying mistakes, you rehearse constructive response. This shifts attention from regret to growth. Growth orientation stabilizes emotion. Another important element is repetition. Visualization works through consistency. Occasional practice creates awareness. Regular practice creates conditioning. Conditioning changes default responses. Over time, calm reactions become automatic. Visualization is not about controlling life. It is about preparing the mind. Prepared minds respond rather than react. This response preserves energy. Visualization also encourages patience. When you visualize long-term development, short-term frustration loses intensity. Perspective widens. Widened perspective reduces urgency. Urgency destabilizes calm. Visualization also strengthens resilience. By mentally rehearsing difficulty, the mind becomes familiar with challenge. Familiar challenge feels manageable. Manageable challenge does not overwhelm. Another benefit is emotional distance. Visualization allows you to observe yourself rather than merge with emotion. Observation creates space. Space restores control. Visualization also improves self-trust. Each rehearsal reinforces belief in your ability to respond. Self-trust reduces anxiety. Anxiety fades when trust rises. Visualization does not require perfection. Even brief moments matter. Consistency outweighs intensity. Visualization also pairs well with action. Action reinforces mental rehearsal. Mental rehearsal improves action quality. This synergy accelerates growth. Over time, visualization reshapes expectation. Expectation influences experience. Experience reinforces belief. Belief stabilizes behavior. This cycle becomes self-sustaining. Calm minds use visualization quietly. They do not announce it. They practice it. This practice becomes invisible strength. As you continue forward, remember this: your mind is always preparing for something. You decide what it prepares for. When you guide that preparation, calm becomes intentional. And when calm becomes intentional, life feels less reactive and more directed. As this journey comes to a close, take a moment to notice something subtle within you. Not a dramatic change, not a sudden revelation, but a quiet shift. The kind of shift that happens when understanding replaces confusion, when awareness softens reaction, when calm begins to feel possible, even in an unpredictable world. This book was never about creating a perfect life. It was about building a stable inner foundation. You explored how control works and where it ends. You learned how gratitude can exist even inside difficulty. You discovered how emotions can be reset rather than resisted. You learned to protect your energy instead of spending it everywhere. You saw how small changes can restore curiosity and momentum. You rewrote the stories your mind tells you. You created anchors for stability. You strengthened resilience. You practiced patience. You learned to release what weighs you down. You trained your mind to visualize calm before chaos arrives. None of these tools were meant to be used all at once. They were meant to be returned to quietly and consistently. Calm is not a destination you reach and keep forever. It is a skill you practice. Some days will feel steady, other days will feel heavy. The difference now is awareness. You know how to pause. You know how to reset. You know how to return. Life will continue to challenge you. People will continue to surprise you. Outcomes will remain uncertain. But uncertainty no longer has to control your inner state. Strength does not come from forcing calm. It comes from understanding yourself. Peace does not come from silence.